So today, I'm gonna do a little practice in Bash scripts, and I'm giving you an easy assignment in Bash scripting. Since this isn't a Bash scripting class, we are allowed to use AI as we are composing our scripts. So, and this is the way it's going to be in real life. That you're going to have to have the skills to properly give AI a phrase to solve the problem as close to what you want as possible. So your challenge is going to be making good use of AI by asking it the right questions. So let's take a look at the assignment to see what question it has for us to do. And here we're logging in as Jay Smart. Let's see if he's still logged in. Oh, he's got to get back, log back in here. Come on, Jay Smart. Sometimes it just doesn't respond until I do that. Okay, Jay Smart is logging in. He's a fictitious student. And then I've often gotten this. I'll do a refresh and I'll get the correct page. I'm sure there's something in there that if I copied and pasted, I might find something, some way to hack into the website. But I'm not going to work on that. A lot of work. So I'm going to go to, not JavaScript program, to my operating system course. And down in assignments, before we do the network practice one right there, let's practice a little Bash scripting. Another reason for Bash scripting, learning it, is learning command line. And it's like you could go memorize a dictionary of commands, but it'll leave your brain immediately or very quickly, or not be in there very strongly in your memory banks. But by working on a project, maybe with a little help from AI, we'll learn Bash scripting and learn some of the basics, and little by little build up our skills. So by having it write a script for us, and then the idea is we're going to modify the script just to show that we understand it. So try to do a little on our own. So here's what I'm asking you to do, is to write a script to create a sequence of files. So I have to know what's the best way to create a file. We'll see how ChatGPT does it, and then we will have it take a parameter. So it'll create a sequence of files, like file 1, file 2, file 3, all the way up to whatever number n I give it. So let's see how AI is going to do this for us. I'm going to copy this phrase, write a Bash script to create a sequence of files taking an input parameter n. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to bring up my ChatGPT friend. I am logged. Let me log into my Google Drive. I think I'm logged into my Google Drive. Yeah, I'm logged into my Google Drive. You know what? I'm going to log in. Oh, I am logged in as JSmart. So now I'm going to go to ChatGPT. Chat.openai.com. And if I'm not already logged in, I don't need to restart Firefox. Go ahead. It goes pretty quick. I'll let it restart Firefox there for me. It's nagging me about that. Now let's go back to ChatGPT. And if it's not already logged in, oh, it is logged in. Actually, I do want to log in here. I think I have. It gives me more phrases to query if I'm logged in. So I'm going to log in, and I'm going to log in using Google. That's why I made sure I was logged in with my JSmart at Emmaus, because I know that's a Google account. So I'm logging into ChatGPT. Now I'm going to give it the phrase, Control V, paste that phrase, write a Bash script to create a sequence of files taking an input parameter n. And I hit enter. And let's see what kind of scripts it gives me. And now I'm going to take the script and understand it and actually see if it will run. So I'm going to learn how to run a script once I've created one. So let's go ahead and copy this code. And now let's go to my VM that I have running here. Let's go to my VMware. Where's my VMware? Here's my VMware. And I'm running VMware Workstation. There's my Oracle 9. I'm going to play the virtual machine. And one more thing I'm going to try to do. I'm going to get logged in if he's not already logged in. Come on, he's not talking to me. Spacebar? No. I had suspended it before. It does, oh, there we go. I'm going to bring up a terminal. And on that thing, I'm going to do IP address. I see that I have this IP address, 172.16.2.128. I'm going to try one more time to log in using PuTTY instead of the screen, because I know with PuTTY I have a little more control over my font size. And I'm not sure where that's coming from. I'm going to start a new PuTTY window. So PuTTY, where's PuTTY? PuTTY, new window. And I'm going to connect 172.16.2.128. Port 22, which is the standard SSH port. I click open, and oh, I am getting this time. I am getting a, hey, I don't recognize the key. So suddenly, PuTTY is working when it didn't seem to be working before. I'm going to accept that key, and now I'm over here in the window logging in under PuTTY now to my machine. And I'm going to do, I'm logged in as student, and then the password I gave to student.
If I'm just a regular user, am I going to be able to create scripts and stuff?
Yes, yes.
Oh.
Because all the file creation you're doing is in your local folder, so you're good. Now, this is the reason I like PuTTY, because now I can copy paste from the clipboard into PuTTY. And sometimes I have difficulty doing it. Let's just see if it does it for me here. If I right click, paste, let's see what happens. Oh, actually, look at that. The right click does copy paste. I'm going to Control C that because I don't want it to do anything. I am going to use PuTTY because I can make this text nice and large for you to be nice and readable on the recording. So I'm going to right click on settings in PuTTY now, and I'm going to modify my font in PuTTY in the appearance, change font, and I make it a little larger for you. I do like the Lucida console. I'm going to make just a little larger font for it to be nice and readable on the recording. That's probably big enough. And I'm going to go to the default setting and apply that to my default setting and increase my font size. Now let's write some scripts. I'm going to, first of all, do a ls to see where am I. pwd, there's where I am. There's the files that are there. ls, there's the files that are there. Let's create our scripts in my documents folder. I'm going to do a cd, doc, and tab to take me to my documents folder. And let's make a folder for scripts. Let's do a mcdir scripts. And a ls minus l shows me there's my scripts folder. I see the D there. That means it's a directory. And let's go down into there now, because I'm going to be working in here. This is where my files will be created and destroyed. So remember the script that I asked it to create. Let's go back to my ChatGPT feedback. It gave me this script. I'm going to copy and paste this, and then in my editor add some comments. So I'm going to click copy code, and now go back to PuTTY, and I'm going to use Nano. That's a nice editor. I'm going to Nano, and let's call it create files. Create files .sh. Now you don't have to put .sh in your files. It's just helpful to anyone here. They see sh and they know this is a script. And if you actually wanted, I can right click and it pastes it automatically. And let's look at these lines one at a time. Let's go to that very first line. £, exclamation point, also known as the shebang, the shell prompt with the shortcut for exclamation point is bang, the term for it. This is called the shebang line. This line says when you run this script, be sure to use the scripting language /bin/man or the script interpreter. So the shebang line in Linux scripts is very important. It tells you that this is the interpreter. So I'm going to put a comment before that because the shebang line has to be the first line in the file. So I'm going to say previous line make sure this is running in the bash interpreter. That's shebang line. Very good to put that in any of your scripts, so anyone reading your script knows, oh, this is a bash script. Because there are other interpreters, some actually are nicer than bash, but we'll use the bash one because that's the most common one that's available under Linux. And now and remember, this is the script that ChatGPT gave to me. Let's see if I can figure out what's happening here just from the context of the commands. Well, here he's given me a comment, check if an argument is provided. Well, what do I see here? Let's add a few comments here. As I read this, I can see that square brackets something square brackets means treat things like numbers. Or it's a way, it's a scoping method in bash as well. The square bracket something, treat what's inside of there like numbers. And I see I see something else here, that $pound. From the context there, I see, well, if I haven't provided any parameters, it's going to echo a message to me, hey, give me a number, or sorry, $0 is the actual name of the program running, and it's going to give this string, oh, it's expecting a parameter number of files. So $, or $$ means the number of parameters given. So apparently, if I'm only running the program without any parameters, the $, will have a value equal. That's another thing I see there, is that the dash equal is attached, EQ is a test for equality. So just reading a script that I trust is working, I can learn scripting that, okay, if I want to do some comparison, and look at that, this semicolon and then is very important. Don't forget the semicolon. That is my test for equality. If that comes out to be true, then I do this. And notice that the phi, that is the end of the scope of my if statement. So just a little reminder of scripting. Now down here, he's given me a good comment. The $1 is my first parameter. So $0 is the name of the program. $1 is the name of my first parameter, or is the value of the first parameter. So I also learned that $0 is the name of my program, of this script actually. And what else do I see there? I see that I need, don't forget, the semicolon space then, and then something inside of it, and I end it with a phi. Anything inside of there is a valid command. They nicely indent, although it doesn't have to be indented. And if I want to exit my program, I can exit without a problem. Now, exit, I'm going to put normally my comments should go before line. So exit 1 means, I'll put pound sign, I'll put the pound sign there. End the program, or the script, with a status value of 1. The convention is that 0 status means no errors. That's just the convention of most script writers. It's up to you how to interpret the exit status, but because there was a problem, we're going to exit with not a status of 0. And it seems it was a fairly simple script. Now we get our input parameter. I don't think we need any more comments than that, except that pound or $1 means my first. So I'm going to add the word first here. Get the first input parameter. If I'm expecting another one, I would have $2 or $3, and I could test or have a default value for my other parameters. I could even set a default value that if n is not, if n is less than equal to 1, maybe give it a default value of 1, or error out saying, wait a minute, you can't give me the wrong number of files. I guess I don't have any error checking here, so maybe I could add to this, put a little comment, to do error checking on this parameter. Notice I am not doing any error checking. I'm assuming that they've given me a valid number. Oh, and notice here, variable assignment. Notice with the n, I don't put a $sign in front of the n. But when I use it later on, I put a $sign in front of it. So this is also an example of parameter assignment, or variable assignment. So I am learning how bash scripts work just by letting AI write one for me and then reading through it. Now, I am not going to do any error checking right now. I could check that n is positive and it's not a letter, it's actually a number. Now, here's the format for a nicely formatted do loop. And let's see if we can figure out what's happening. I am having a variable starting with a value of 1, going up to a value of less than or equal to n. Notice there's semicolons in between. There's the double parenthesis to start it. I would have probably forgotten the double parenthesis because I haven't done scripts for a while. And this looks very much like many other languages for format. There's the condition of my loop to keep going, and incrementing the variable with the ++. I think I could put a do on the same line, but in their format they put the do on the next line. And then the end, it's not a OD like the if backwards, they do a done. Not sure why they didn't keep following that same syntax. End of a do is a ode. But here is the commands. Now I'm going to put a little comment here. Touch is sometimes a useful command. All touch does, touch simply creates the file, but that has nothing, creates an empty file. So I can create a file. What good is an empty file except to prove that I can create a file? I have permissions to create a file. Sometimes it's useful to have a file, call it a placeholder, in case someone tries to create the file, it'll say, wait a minute, that file is already there. And notice here, I can echo the command that I've done, or echo that, yes, file I was created. Notice the name of the file is going to be file with a number sign. It's creating that file. He's saying file number created, but even though the name of the file is lowercase file lowercase file 1.txt. So this is the end of my loop, and then I simply echo that message. I'm going to save this, and let's run this script and then make a modification to it. Let's see how in the world do we run a script. I wrote it out, and now I'm going to click Control X to exit. ls-al shows me that the createfiles.sh file is there. Notice the file does not have execute permission. If I try to do this to run the file, /create file, oh, it won't let me run it. It won't actually tab to complete. If I try create files.sh, guess what it's going to say? Sorry, you don't have permission. What do you mean? It's my file. Look at that. It belongs to student. It doesn't mean I can't change the file. It means the file has no permission to execute. Notice there is no X here. I do not have permission to execute that script. Now what some people will do when they're doing this kind of scripting is change the permission to execute. I would not recommend doing that, although you can. What I like to do is say this. I just say bash and then the name of the file, createfiles.sh. That says run the script interpreter called bash, taking this file as input. Now what output should I get? Let's see what I get. Oh, sorry, you forgot to give me a second parameter. It's giving me the usage message. Now let's try let's give it a parameter of 5. Bash create files, second parameter 5. And now it shows me file 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 created. Let's do a ls minus l, and I see 5 files, all created with 0 content. See the content? The length is 0. Now, I might want to run this test again. Let's see what happens if I run this test again. I can arrow up and run this again. Do you think I'm going to get an error message? If the file's already there, will touch fail? Let's see what happens. Nope. Touch actually works because touch simply changes the access time on that file. If I do ls minus l, notice, oh, you don't notice my access time. I was expecting the access time to have been updated. This must be the creation time, not the access time of that file. Now, suppose I want to run this again and have those files deleted. Here's a very important command using wildcards. Remember oh, Samuel, do you remember the command to remove a file? RM. I could have said delete to try to make it harder for you. Yes. RM file1.txt will remove that file. But to use wildcards, I can just say rm file star.txt. That will remove all files. And now ls minus l removes all files who started with the word file. Well, let's now see. We have the script working. It creates files, but let's modify it a little bit. Let's first of all see what the assignment says. I think it asks us to modify it. Add comments. We've done that. Modify the script to take a second parameter to delete the same files. Well, I think I know how to check if there is a second parameter, but how would I add a second parameter to delete rather than create? Well, let's let AI help us by just adding this phrase to my current phrase. Take a second parameter to delete the same files. Copy, paste in my AI question, and paste it here. He's already given me the answer here. Let's just add that and see what he gives me for a suggested solution. And let's look through this. Let's look through it this time and just see what's different. And maybe what I'll do, I'm thinking I'm going to start a new script. Actually, I do have the comments already. Maybe we'll modify it here. Notice this one. This time, instead of if $pound is equal to 0, it checks if $pound is -LT1. And guess what that means? That means it's the first parameter is less than 1 because he's expecting a second parameter. So if parameters is 0, then he has to give him any parameters. This time, if parameters 0, then 1. I actually, let's see, is he taking n? He is not. Oh, look at that. He gave me an answer that, oh, there, he does get parameter 1. What is the second parameter? Well, here he checks to see if I have a second parameter. So he doesn't give me an error. He checks if I do have 2 parameters and that second parameter is equal to delete. And look at here, the test for equality is 1 equal sign. If the second parameter is the word delete, then he's going to do a different loop. Instead of touching the file, he's going to delete the files. Like, you see what's going on here? If I tell it, and he gives me an example, if I tell it to create files, 5 files, he creates them and then decides if you ask me to delete, he will then delete them. And if I didn't have the word delete there as my third parameter, he just jumps over this entire loop. He says if I have a second parameter, and if that second parameter is the word delete, then it deletes the files. Otherwise, it ignores the second parameter. So let's add this second parameter by just copy pasting just this section of code, because basically I have the same code so far, and then we'll adjust the usage part of it there. So I'm going to right click copy that, and now let's go to my code and let's modify my script. Manual create files.sh, and oops, and let's skip the usage part. I'm going to give me some extra space so I can tell my different sections apart. So I've created the files no matter what. I'm going to right click paste. Right click and putty automatically does the paste. And now let's see what we have here. Notice I'm checking for a second argument. I'm going to add this comment in here. If there is a second argument, how do I know that? That is the pound dollar dash eq2. That's testing for are there two parameters. Maybe I should make it LT3. More than two parameters and defaults for everything, that's a whole nother challenge. So that's basically checking if there's a second argument, and then remember it's an and, the second argument is delete, do the loop. So that's what this code is doing. Is the second argument, or is there a second parameter, $pound equal to, and is the value of the second parameter, $2, equal to the word delete? So notice the single equality for testing for equality of strings here, and then the loop is about the same. For I is 1, I is lesser than or equal to the n. Oh, what's going on here? This is a whole nother thing. If minus f file $i.txt, what do you think is happening there?
It's looking for it.
Yeah, if the file exists. So let's add that comment there. Before trying to remove it, check that it exists. Check for existence before trying to delete it. Basically, it's doing a little error checking. If I try to delete a file that's not there, I'll get an annoying message, file not found, and I don't want to see file not found. I just want it to delete it only if it's there. And then it'll echo the message deleted it. And let's see, anything else interesting here that's worth commenting here? The rm command, that's the delete. And then I can exit saving my file and then see if it works. Exit, save modify buffer, yes. Name, same as before. Now to run the script, shell or bash, name of my file. Parameter, let's do 10 files this time. And no delete, ls minus l, there's the files created. Oh, and here's something kind of somewhat annoying sometimes. Notice that file 10 gets listed first because alphabetically it thinks that file 10.txt should come before file 1.txt. Now, let's add the second parameter, delete. It's going to do the touch again, and now also delete them, ls minus l, and it has deleted the files. So just a little bit of practice with a script, letting AI help us, and I basically given you the answer to that little homework problem. with additional comments. Now, if you're really lazy, you could go to AI and ask him for this. Add comments explaining the code. It added decent comments. I like mine better because it explained things a little better, like what the dollar pound is. But it added a few comments. Now, I'm only doing this because I know that out there, as you're doing, if you do have an opportunity to write a script, you're gonna want to get AI help if you have it available to write your scripts. But that doesn't mean you don't need to understand scripting, because the AI might give you a bad script, and you're going to have to recognize bad scripts. So even if you're not going to be composing them completely from scratch, you're going to have to be checking them and understand what this command means, what it has given to you. Same thing when you go to some website and says, here's how to install this software, here's the script to do it. Don't just blindly trust that script unless you'd like to be fired, or I would be sure to do a backup of your system before you run the script, because if you trust scripts that don't have errors in them, or even ChatGPT has a bug in it, you need to understand what the script is giving you. You may not remember how to write this from scratch, but when you see that code, you better understand what that's doing, because you're going to be responsible for the system when you run it. You better understand that this is going to create an empty file. This is simply echoing a message. Echoes are safe. Well, often what I'll do when I'm writing script, I will echo everything to see that I think it's doing everything in the right order, and then I'll go back and remove echoes that actually execute the command, because some of those commands can be very dangerous. All right, let's see if there's anything else I asked you to do here. Yeah, I've asked you to study the scripts and upload. Did I have a place to upload? Yeah, then just upload your script when you're done. I suppose, let's see, since you are on a Linux system, let's see how hard it would be to send it over to Schoology from there. Let's see, if I go over to my system here, I do have the GUI here, and it is on the internet. Let me enlarge that window for a second here. And let's go to the web, and I can log in there and upload the file that was created on that system. So I could go to, I am on the internet with this particular system, and I could just go to advanced.schoology.com. Stop annoying me, Firefox. Skip this step. Just let me browse. mas.schoology. So I could upload it, I could log in and upload it from the Linux system. Otherwise, you can use FileZilla or WinSCP to copy the file over to your Windows system if you had any trouble browsing from your Linux system up to Schoology. Now, for the last part of this, I want to do a little practice on subnetting, because we always need networking when we're troubleshooting our systems to see if they're talking to other systems. Let me close my tabs, and I'm going to go back to my PuTTY window. All sorts of networking things like ping www.google.com. What if that is not working? What can I do to debug? Well, one of the first things I do if I'm ever having issues connecting to anything is I do IP address. That tells me what my address is of my device. You can always ignore the loopback address. We know that that's always going to be 127.0.0.1. So all of this we can ignore. We look for the first thing that gives us an address that looks like not a loopback address, and I know from this that the device that this system has for that networking device is ENS 160, and you'll get different names depending on what system you're on. But this is the important number. There is my IP address, version 4, 16-bit subnet mask, and here is my IPv6 address. We're going to ignore the IPv6 address unless someone asks me for it, but that is being handed to me by my firewall. This address, having this address, if someone is attacking me, or if I have gotten onto a system and I want to know what else is on the system that I could possibly attack, this is a wonderful number for me to know, and now know what other systems are possibly on the network that I'm on right now that I could attack or search for, do an nmap, do a port scan. That's why I need to have a little practice in networking. So let's jump to our little networking practice and help you work through it little by little. Let's see here, networking practice. Let's jump to that assignment now. I'm logged in as JSmart. I'm coming down to here, and I think there's a Google Doc that I'm going to simply open. Since I am JSmart, I don't have permission to modify this. I have view only, but I do have permission to make a copy because I'm logged into my MAS account. And I'm going to call it JSmart's version of, I'll call it JSmart cs230 network practice. I'll save it over in my drive. Let's see, let's make a folder. I have a cs230 sp24. I will select and make the copy. It's going to be located in my cs230 folder. Now I can modify it. And I'm going to walk through this question right here and put that IP address in binary format. Well, as I get practice at doing this, I recognize that this number and all zeros after it is 128. Add a 64 to that and I get 192. So I know my address is for that first number 000000. Because just practicing my various numbers, 128 plus 64 gives me 192. I know that's what 192 looks like. 168, let's see, it's 128 plus 40. Well, 40 is 32 plus 8. So 0, 1, 0. There's the 32, bit number 5, and 8 is 1, 0, 0, 0. So there's 168. Dot 1, oh, easy peasy. And dot 1. Now really, when I think about subnet masks and my network mask, well, what's my network mask? Well, 24 bits. Well, here's 8. Another 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I think I accidentally put 9 here. I should be using a constant space font. I'm going to use my paintbrush and make it the same font as over here using my paintbrush. So then I see the numbers lining up nicely if I'm using, oh, look at that. When I edit it, it shrinks. That's annoying. Maybe I have to edit it up here. No kidding. Look at that. When I edit it, it changes the size of my font. How annoying. That's 8, 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And all the rest are zeros. Hitting enter, and now it goes back to the size of the font that it's supposed to be. I hadn't noticed that before. That's annoying about you Google Docs. Maybe if I shrink my window a little bit, see if that does it. May have to do with my magnification. Okay, so what are my network bits? Well, it's all the bits that are masked by my network mask. So it would be all these bits. All those bits there are my network bits. How do I know that? Because of the network bits in my network mask. So network bits are that, and then I can add the 0. Actually, yeah, the network bits are that, and then when we're asking for our network bits or the network number, I put all zeros in the host bits. So I'm going to just bold the host bits, or can I make them a different font size? Yeah, I'll shrink them a bit. So my host bits are shrunken just to show you that those are not my network bits. And now, host bits, well, it's all the network bits are 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 24 network bits, and the host bits that are left is that number 24. Well, let's see, 24 is 16 plus 8, so 0, 0, 0, 1. There's 116 plus 8, which is 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. So there's my network bits, and let's shrink my host bits this time. There. So my network bits are the last 8 bits. When you have a multiple of 8 in your network mask, that makes your problem usually pretty easy. And I gave you multiples of 8 except for the last 3 problems. Now the only reason I'm doing this in binary is just to make it clear why you have the network mask and what that is doing. The network mask, think of that as masking those bits. It's not so hard if you have multiples of 8, but it's good to know and good to practice the others. Now, the network address, well, I go to my network bits and I see that nothing got changed. It's 192.168.1. So that's my network address, 192.168.1.0. We put a 0 in the host bits when we're asking for the network bits. Last host, now this is where it gets a little slightly tricky. The last host in that network, can you tell me what it is?
.254?
Yeah. And why is it 254?
Because the other one is the broadcast, 255.
Yeah, because all bits are 1, except for that very last bit. Yes, and then I didn't ask you for the broadcast address, but I did give you a hint that the last host is not the broadcast address.
Oh, this is a 10.11.0.0. Are we supposed to use, because on the left in column B, is where it says network address?
This guy here?
Yeah, is that not what we're working on right now?
We're working on this one.
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
And that's why his network address is different. This is the correct network address because notice his subnet mask is 16.
Okay, I didn't realize that there was an address.
Yep.
Anytime.
Yep. And now the first host would be 192.168.1.1. Remember? Yeah. We can't have a 0 for my host because that's my network address. Well, let's do one more. Actually, let's jump ahead to a harder one. Because that 16 is an easy one. Let's jump to this one here. Because this is actually one currently in use by one of our servers. All right. Now let's look at and I can shrink just so I can see my instructions. I can actually hide, or let's see. I'm going to freeze column 1. Click on column 1 and view freeze column 1. Now I can slide over and work on this and know what I'm supposed to put where. Okay, so now I'm going to work on this one. IP address in binary. This is more of a practice just at converting decimal to binary. I see quickly that that's 65 is 64 plus 1. So 64 is 0, 1, 0, 0 with all zeros, and then one more is 0, 0, 0, 1. So there's my 65. 153 is 128 plus 25. So 128 plus 16 plus 7. Now you can use a calculator if you had to, but I'm just showing you how I see numbers. I right away look for what's the power of 2 that is the largest portion of that. 69, 64 plus 3. So 0, 1, 0, 0 I know is 64, and 3 more is 0, 0, 1, 1. 254 or 244. Ooh, that's a little harder. It's 240 plus 4. Well, I know 240 is 1110, and then 0100 it gives me the, or sorry, 0010. Oh, sorry, it is a 4. 0100 is the 4. So 240 plus 4 gives me 244. That's just a quick way. As you do it more and more, it gets easier. And let's go ahead and use a paintbrush and make all those be the constant size font. Oh, didn't work. Let's go back over here. That font, paintbrush. Let's make all of these. Oh, I don't want to change that one. Paintbrush. Make all of these. Oh, I didn't turn on the paintbrush. Turn on the paintbrush. Make all of these that format of font. There. Okay, now the network mask. 30. Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 24. Now I need 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, 0. A very long network mask. My network bits, well, are all the bits, basically this number. I'm going to copy that. Turning the last 2 bits to 0, which they already are. So I shrink that down. I'm shrinking that down just to make it clear. Those are my host bits. So what I'm seeing is 65.153.69.244 is actually my network number. Copy this number here. Actually, since I see my host bits are 0, basically it's all zeros. And the last 2 zeros are my host bits. So the host bits are 0. I'm going to shrink my network bits by 2. Kind of a crazy thing. I see that my network address is actually the original number in binary, 192.65.153.69.244. How do I know it's the network address? Because my host bits are 0. If all the host bits are 0, that's my network address. So I have given you a number that with a /30 can only be the network address. So my last host, let's just copy my host here. My last host in binary, what's my last host and what's my first host? Well, my last host is 10 for the 2 host bits. My first host is the 01 in the host bits. And this time I'm just going to bold the host bits just to make it clear. Because I only have 2 host bits. I only have 2 hosts available on that /30 network. Anytime you see a /30, that means typically you're only 2 hosts on this subnet. When would that be a practical subnet? When would I ever use 2 hosts on a subnet?
It doesn't seem very good to me.
How about the subnet that goes between 2 routers? There's only 2 devices on that subnet between routers. So rather than waste any space, typically your subnet between 2 devices, if they're the only 2 that will ever be on that little subnet, you make it a /30. So they are used in a lot of places. It's not useful for a lab, the client side, but between routers, if they're only talking to one router, it's a /30 network. So it's nice to know that when you see that, it's like, oh, what are the 2 devices? You know there's only 2 devices there. And each interface on a router, even if they're doing redundant routing, you have one connection to one router going the other one direction. You have a second router to make a redundant path. That's still a /30 because there's only me and the other router on that other interface. So it seems impractical, but /30s are used everywhere in your infrastructure of your network. So just a little practice in networking, just because it gets a little fuzzy and building your confidence in using it. And when you're troubleshooting systems, like why can't I talk to that server? Well, let's check your network. You're often doing that, even if you're not the network, the network expert. And that's it for today. Quick little practice in scripts, networking. I'm thinking I might do it. Well, we'll do that last project next time, or I'll let you finish these up on your own if you have any trouble with that. And we'll end there and hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.